There is an insanely viral video circulating on the internet of a young woman complaining about her 9-to-5 workweek structure. Some are making fun of her and saying this is life and she needs to buck up and get used to it. Others are saying she's completely right. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.
Guys, before we get into this video, if you'd like to support the work I'm doing on this channel, I have a Patreon. The link is in the description down below. Sign up if you like, no pressure. Now let's get down to the bottom of this video.
I know I'm probably just being so dramatic and annoying, but this is my first job, like my first 9-to-5 job after college, and I'm in person, and I'm commuting in the city, and it takes me forever to get there. There's no way I'm gonna be able to afford living in the city right now, so that's off the table. Like, duh! If I was able to walk to work and it'd be fine, but I'm not. So it literally takes me, like, I leave here at, like, I get on the train at 7:30 and I don't get home till like 6:15 earliest, and then, like, I don't have time to do anything. I want to shower, eat my dinner, and go to sleep. I don't have time or energy to cook my dinner either. Like, I don't have energy to work out. Like, that's out the window. Like, I'm so upset.
Okay, let's pause for a second. So far, she hasn't really directly complained about the job itself. It seems like she's most concerned about the fact that she's commuting an hour and a half in the morning and an hour and 15 back, which in my own personal opinion is quite a bit. And I used to commute for work. I completely understand how that can be a little frustrating when your car becomes your second home. And it's interesting because I feel myself having this instinct to make fun of this girl and say that she needs to get up and go to work and do what everybody else does. And I think it's an instinct that we all share. When you've been put through the ringer at work, or you've done the whole 9-to-5 back and forth, when you see somebody else complaining about it, your instinct is to think, you need to get used to this. Everybody has to go through it. It's life, and somebody should have prepared you for that. And there's a discussion to be had surrounding preparation for what life looks like. But we'll talk about that in just a moment.
Oh my god! Nothing to do with my job at all, but just like the 9-to-5 schedule in general is crazy. Being in the office 9-to-5, like if it was remote, you get off at 5 and you're home and everything's fine. But like, I'm not home. It takes me long to get home, and like people that drive to the office, like you don't get off at 5. And I know it could be worse. I know I could be working longer, but like I literally get off, it's pitch black. Like I don't have energy. How do you have friends? Like how do you have time to like a guy? I don't know. Like how do you have time for like dating? Like I don't have time for anything, and I'm like so stressed out, and I'm also getting my period, so that's why I'm all emotional. But like, am I so dramatic? It's fine.
Okay. Well, at least she's speaking to some points as to why she might be extra dramatic in this case, and I can sense a little bit of that. So instinctually, I watch a video like this and I think you'll be fine. I personally have a best friend who wakes up every single morning, goes to work her 9-to-5, comes home, gets ready, goes to a second job, works all night, and then comes back, sleeps, and does the same thing the next day.
And she's a hustler and she loves it.
But not everyone is like that. And I think if you take a general look at our society, nearly every single one of us is putting in the work now in hopes that later down the line, we will be able to slow down and focus on things that matter more to us. Maybe some of the things that she mentioned in this video, things like family and friends and dating, finding a significant other, just taking care of oneself. And while I think that there are ways she could find that within her 9-to-5 work structure, I can understand the frustration, especially when this is your first time getting that experience. So let's look underneath that idea of thinking that she's perfectly capable of doing this job and doing the commute. And in fact, if she worked her schedule right, she'd have plenty of time to do all the things that she's talking about. Something that obviously sticks out to me in watching this video is that she is a young woman. And in today's society, young women, in my opinion, are sold a
big fat lie.
And the big fat lie is that they should focus on nothing more than getting a job and slaving away to a corporation and working on their career to secure the bag. We're told that we should be girl bosses and forget about significant others or husbands or children, worry about that later, get the career now. And as wonderful as it is to make ourselves into perpetual consumers and make a ton of money, it turns out that on the flip side of that 9-to-5 job, you may not have as much time for yourself. It turns out that commuting an hour and a half to work in the morning, to sit at a desk for 8 hours, and then commute all the way back home, just to have a few hours to yourself before going to sleep and doing it all over the next day, is not as fulfilling as we thought it would be. But that is the feminist narrative that we are all sold, and somehow this is meant to be liberating and more empowering for women, when in fact, if you look into the structure of a 9-to-5 work week, it's not even made for the biology of women. We know now that women need more sleep, and some studies even say that it's beneficial for women to get more than 8 hours of sleep. We also know that women don't get that big boost of testosterone in the morning that men have. We also know that women live on a 28-day cycle that is full of highs and lows, where we bleed 1 week out of every month. And we are sold that a 9-to-5 work week is somehow liberating and empowering and is going to make us feel better about ourselves because we come home with more money in our pockets. And not only that, it takes away from other endeavors that we will come to find are far more important than chasing your career. What happens at the end of the day when this young woman grows into an older woman who has no husband or no significant other because she slaved away to corporate America? What happens if she believes the lie that her corporate career is more important than having kids and a family? And what happens when we look around us and recognize that we are getting to a point in this economy where women and men don't have the choice on this anymore? I think we'll come to find this whole massive push to have us in the workforce to be liberated working in our corporate jobs has now left us with no other choice than to do exactly that with our lives. So yeah, you're gonna see a whole lot of young women hopping on the internet crying about their 9-to-5 jobs and the situation that they now find themselves in. And the more we continue down this path, the less options you will have out of it. And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of women like my best friend that I described who is good at hustling, who works 2 jobs, who loves being out in the workforce and keeping busy. But there are also a lot of women, and I think we'll come to find more than we're willing to recognize, who don't want that life once they have it. I think we're all becoming at least a little skeptical of corporations. I think we're all left, right, and center coming to the conclusion that corporations do not have our best interests at heart. We've seen it with Big Pharma. We've seen it with Vanguard. We've seen it with BlackRock. We've seen it with State Street, the buying up of all of our houses, the changing of our political agenda and propaganda that has been inserted into our society. And do you think they care at all really about their workers or their work structure or whether or not it's creating a fulfilling life for them? I would guess not. And I think those corporations a very long time ago figured out that it was within their best interest to get women into the workforce and to sell it to them as some sort of liberating hero's arc. In fact, here's an editor at Cosmopolitan talking about exactly that.
They wanted to keep their jobs, but should women today really in this climate really have to choose between their job or their child? But we pretended it was freedom for women, and over time, as the sexual revolution and the women's movement got identified closer and closer together, a lot of women began to buy into that illusion.
Turns out we were largely sold a lie, and we're going to be dealing with the repercussions of buying it. Now, this whole video is not to say that nobody should work 9 to 5 and we should completely upend the work structure and look at socialism and communism and all these different things. It's just to say that when we see a video of a young woman or anybody questioning the current system that we live in, maybe we should question it too. As I said before, I think most of us are working now, in whatever capacity we are working now, in order to build a better future for ourselves. And I think when we think about that better future, it doesn't involve a 9 to 5 job where we're sitting at a desk all day just to go home and get a few hours to ourselves and do it all over again the next. I think the future that we envision for ourselves involves leisure time. Yes, to work on things, but to work on things that maybe we are more passionate about, that are more fulfilling for us, that are better for our significant others, our husbands,
Our wives.
our families. I think the futures that we envision involve strong relationships with our family and friends and doing things that truly make us feel joy and happiness. And while a 9 to 5 job, you may decide, is the exact way to get to that future, we shouldn't be so up in arms when a young woman figures out that maybe it's not for her. Yes, work is a part of life, and if this young woman decides to leave her 9 to 5 job and maybe find a husband and be a stay-at-home mom, that will involve a lot of work too. In fact, probably more than she was ever doing at her job. But maybe that will be more fulfilling for her. Maybe that's something that works better with her lifestyle, and maybe that is something that promotes balance within her heart and mind. And yeah, while our society requires hard work and a lot of it to function in the way that it is currently, it's okay to have a conversation about balance. But guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the video that we watched. Do you think she needs to pick herself up by the bootstraps and get back to work, or do you think she's onto something in the questions that she's raising in this video? I'd love to hear from you. As always, if you disagree, duke it out, but do so respectfully. And if you like this video, like, subscribe, click the notification bell to be notified every single time I post for you guys, which is every single day, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.